and welcome to Abnormal Mapping, episode 73. I'm your host, Em, and with me is regular co-host Jackson Tyler.
Hello!
We have a very special episode for you today, our first patron-guested episode. If you go to patreon.com/abnormalmapping, you can also be on an episode at the $10 tier every 6 months. You can be on any of our podcasts, or tell us to play a game, or read a book, or whatever you want us to do on the shows in which we do those things. And we have a guest today. We have our friend Sam. Sam, say hello.
Hello.
Sam, why don't you tell people a little bit about yourself and where you're at and why you chose to be here and pick the game you did today?
Sorry. So I don't really do much. I just sort of tweet and then once a month have a podcast out about The Witcher.
Oh, you are doing that, right?
Yes.
Oh, what is this podcast? What is it called? Where can we find it?
It's called Myth and Kin, and so far we're going through the Witcher novels, and we'll eventually get to the games. But yeah, I do that. I host that with Devin Carter, who also hosts the Dead Genre Chronicles, a podcast about JRPGs, and you can sort of find them both those podcasts on Twitter at JRPGs Are Dead. That's an ironic name.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I like that you are basically me if I fucking did anything with my life. In terms of like both being extremely extra about having to play everything in order, like you're reading the fucking Witcher books before you play the games, which is the thing I like say I would do, but I just don't.
Yeah.
You played all the Yakuza games in like 3 months, and it broke your entire brain.
2 months.
Jesus, I saw your playtime count. You showed me.
It's somewhere around 200 hours, I think now.
Yeah, and most of it was
series.
Yakuza 5.
Yeah. Close to 70 hours of that was Yakuza 5.
Yep. But no. Hi, Sam. Sam's a good friend.
Hello.
Hello, Sam.
Yeah.
Hello, Sam.
So yes, I'm excited to do these episodes. We don't really have like a plan for them necessarily. We're going to talk to Sam about just stuff, and then we're going to talk about the game because every time we do these,
so we're covering Shadow of the Colossus. That is what we were talking about. Sam, why did you pick Shadow of the Colossus for us to play?
It's a game I've kind of been curious to revisit myself because I've been one of those people who kind of evangelized that game when I played it, and I just had forgotten a lot of it, and also forgot that the remake is out next month.
Yes, no, we also didn't realize that would line up so perfectly, but now everyone's talking about Shadow of the Colossus again, and we're doing this podcast, and I'm kind of glad because we've never been this timely, but also I'm mad because we're suddenly timely, and this is a show that is about being not that.
Yeah, no, I don't think anyone intended for this.
We would never be knowingly timely.
Yeah, no, absolutely not.
No, I've seen footage of the remake. I hate it. I don't like it.
Oh, you're one of those?
Yeah.
So I've seen footage of the remake, and I think it looks fine. I mean, me and Jackson both played this on the PS3. I mean, you know what? We'll save it. Let's not talk about that.
We have, yes. We're going to get that later.
It has been probably 7 weeks since we recorded a podcast. Jackson, what have you been doing about video games in those 7 weeks?
Oh, God, nothing. Oh, a lot? Hang on. It's been since December.
Yes, early December is when we recorded our Game of the Year bumpers and the episode 71 about the grab bag stuff. So it's been
God, there's been I've played so many games, but none that I really want to talk about, I guess. I don't know. I played FTL, which is fantastic. Turns out when you make a game that's about moving meters up and down in order to recreate the environment of a Star Trek bridge, it's entirely my shit. You have been getting at me for approximately 3 years telling me, hey, you have to play FTL, it's made for you. Turns out you were right all this time.
Yeah, no, I'm always right.
I know.
We've been doing this a long time. When have I ever been wrong about a thing?
Sometimes. You've been wrong before.
Can you name one wrong opinion I've had on this show?
Oh, on this show? I
Yeah,
don't
on this show.
remember. Oh god, you can't put me on the spot like that. Like, yes, but what do you?
No,
what do you
absolutely
want from
not. If
me?
you can't name one, it doesn't exist.
I don't like keep a record of your failures like you do for me.
You know what? I don't actually have to keep a record of failures. All I have to do is for you to tell me about, like, I'll be like, Jackson, tell me one of your failures, and you'll just give me a list.
No, I've never failed. So now I'm using your technique. It works very well. Just act like you've never failed, and then you'll fake it until everyone believes you.
Yeah. Let me know how that goes, because it really doesn't work for me either.
Okay, so it's definitely not going to work for me.
Yeah.
But no, I haven't been really playing that many games this month. Just because of how a lot of life stuff going on with everyone, a lot of school stuff for me. But FTL has been cool. Shadow of the Colossus was fun to play through. I revisited the Halo games. Sam, were you a person who played the Halo games?
I've played Halo 3.
Okay, then no.
I've played a lot of Reach multiplayer.
Yeah, that's pretty good.
Jackson, did you play Reach? I feel like I've never heard you talk about Reach ever.
I have played Halo Reach once. I played it like after it came out. It is the only Halo game except 5, which I just didn't play, that I didn't like get at the launch and get really into, just because of when it happened to come out and what I was in. Like,
were we doing a podcast when that game came out?
Absolutely not. That was 2010.
Oh, okay.
We did not know each other.
Don't ask me when Halo happened.
I know the exact year every Halo game came out, so that's me. That's my life.
Halo 4 was out when we were doing a podcast, right?
Nope.
5 for sure.
5, yes. Halo 4 was 2012. We were talking. I guess we were technically doing a podcast when Halo 4 came out, but not one of these.
Okay. A bad podcast.
A bad podcast. Yes, exactly. But no, I played through the Halo games, and Halo's bad, but I like it a lot. I like its version of dumb lore much more than like the bad lore that we have now in a lot of games, or like the bad lore of Mass Effect or something. It's incredibly ridiculous, just absolute nonsense about the Great Journey and the Covenant having their internal war between the brutes and the elites, and then there's the ancient aliens who have like invented humans to operate weapons to kill the Gravemind, who is a plant god that is like psychic and can control everything, but not really. It's phenomenally stupid, but those first 3 games are really good. They're very dumb, and I like them a lot. Halo. Strong opinions on Halo. You've never played Halo, unfortunately, so I can't really talk to you about it, but they're good shooters.
Yeah, no, they put them out on PC. I'm not ever dragging out my Xbox again, so...
I know. It is like a thing that I want you to play, but there's no real way for you to do it.
Yeah.
No,
I mean, there is if I was not lazy, but I'm incredibly lazy.
You're just insanely lazy.
Yes, that's me. Insanely lazy. That's how I'd self-describe.
I guess you're not online enough to describe all things as insanely, as unfortunately I am. Too online.
Yes. Very online. Sam, what have you been playing over the last however long? That isn't The Witcher, I guess.
Well, I haven't been playing The Witcher because I've just been reading the books, but...
Have you ever played The Witcher, or are you just going into this whole hog?
I've played The Witcher 2 and 3. Haven't played much of the first one.
My favorite Witcher.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Sex cards.
Look, sex cards are stupid. They are better than what happens in The Witcher 2 and 3. That's my take.
I know.
I like Witcher 2 and 3 a lot. I think those.
I like. I'm not here to say they're bad. The Witcher is maybe my favorite game series. I just think The Witcher 1 is like an incredibly ambitious and interesting game in a way that 2 and 3 especially, really shaves off a lot of the like fiddly interesting bits to make a game that more people will play.
It should also be noted that the way Em was able to appreciate the fiddly interesting bits rather than hate them was cheating your entire way through the game.
I did. To be fair, I did that with all 3 games. Whenever I needed gold, I just put in a command to give myself gold.
So, but like, I feel like that's an explanation that like makes sense for why you're able to be like super into a lot of games with fiddly bits, and everyone else is mad at them because you just. Like,
I don't want to grind. I have a life to live.
Exactly. It just makes these games so much more enjoyable.
I
cut my time on The Witcher 3 in half because of that.
Yeah, what was it like 30 hours, 35 hours?
No. My Witcher 3 time was like, I did everything in all of the expansions and everything in like 60 hours.
Oh, jeez.
I'm still not finished on The Witcher 3's expansions, and I'm at 170 hours.
Exactly.
But I put that game on hard difficulty.
Oh, yeah, I also play on easy. I'm only here for the story. I am the most content tourist that exists.
Yep.
I
guess, what else have you been doing, Sam? What have you been up to lately? What's up with Sam?
Yes.
Yes.
I haven't 9-to-5 job.
How are the books?
Books? Oh yeah, I work for a bookseller. I guess people are buying them.
Oh, that's good. That's
Yeah.
not necessarily what I would have expected.
So I don't know what bookshops are like in your country, but have you devoted large amounts of floor space to like toys and models and stuff?
I work for an online bookseller.
Yes.
Oh, okay. I didn't realize that was the case.
Yes.
I have met up with Sam occasionally, and I'm always told with filled with anecdotes about the life of being a non-Amazon online bookseller. It seems like a stressful time.
You know, I don't even know what that is. Like, why? What? How?
I don't know. I don't know.
So, like, I understand, like, not wanting to patronize Amazon because they fucking suck. They're a horrible company. I get it. But I don't know how your answer is, I'm not going to shop at a local bookstore. I'm going to still shop online, just not at Amazon. I mean, I guess it's good for you. Like, I'm not saying this is a bad thing. I'm just curious how this comes about.
I mean, it was a job, and you took it, and you do it. Like,
Yeah, no, that's fair. It's not your shop. I guess that's fair. I'm not asking you to answer for your employers.
No.
It's mostly to do with price.
Oh, fair enough.
Hey, what's the deal with shops? Oh, well, I would say it's mostly to do with price.
Yeah, no, it's literally because we sell some stuff cheaper. That's the secret how you get customers.
God damn it, that completely threw me. Oh, God.
Also, when we do get the odd customer that's just happy not to shop at Amazon.
Yeah,
that's good.
No.
I'm glad that, like, how, because you specifically have to deal with like Twitter and the public face of being someone at that company, right? Like, how much do people actually consciously say they are like choosing to not shop at Amazon besides they just happen to shop at the place you work?
I do sort of handle some Facebook advertising for them, and there are like 3 genres of comment, and like one is the sort of annoyed person who sort of is already angry with the store for some reason. The other is well, why don't you just shop at an actual bookstore? And then the last one is, well, it's not Amazon. And
Okay.
All of these people are me.
So, you just said how you weren't as online as me.
Yeah, I know.
And now you're like seeing the bad commenters and being like, these are me. It sounds like a very bad time having to deal with like the public Twitter of a company. What a nightmare situation to be in. Yeah. Anyway,
Yeah.
That's enough talk, like forcing you to talk about your job. I just find it interesting. What kind of video games do you like, Sam? What kind of video games do you like?
I like role-playing games. I play a lot of JRPGs.
Yeah, didn't you used to like review JRPGs like no one had ever heard of?
Yeah, no, I used to write for one of those volunteer-run game websites, and that was not a great decision because I was, you know what, I'm going to review a JRPG under a deadline
For free.
Yeah, and that was I developed repetitive strain injury at one point.
Oh God.
Yeah. No.
Sam.
And what did I review? I reviewed Etrian Mystery Dungeon and one of the Devil Survivor games.
I remember you like talking to me about like, oh, I played one of those it was a 3DS game that was just one of those JRPGs that nobody is gonna like think about ever 2 months after it came out, except like extremely hardcore JRPG people.
What?
Like Legend of something.
Well, I played Legend of Heroes Trails of Cold Steel, which was on the
oh no, that wasn't it.
Vita and PS3, and I don't know if because it had a PC port recently.
Yeah, no, people like the Legend of Heroes games.
It was.
We watched
Are you thinking of Stellar Glow?
Yes, I'm thinking of Stellar Glow because I can't think of the name of Stellar Glow.
I've heard of Stellar Glow. I was thinking of like Code of Princess or something.
I have played Code of Princess. That was on my own time, and I completely regretted that. Code of Princess is terrible.
Oh, weird.
Yeah,
If you like being juggled by enemies, then play Code of Princess, I guess.
self-selecting and playing a lot of older games like gives me a completely different perspective on this kind of stuff. Because like I guess I like JRPGs and I could play, Code of Princess, or I could just go back and play the 6 Dragon Quests I haven't played.
Well, Code of Princess is like a bad version of Guardian Heroes.
I don't know what Guardian Heroes is.
Guardian Heroes.
I know what Guardian Heroes is. It's good.
It's my favorite beat 'em up. It's a Treasure developed game, and it's a beat 'em up, but instead of like the sort of standard belt scrolling kind of thing, you have like 3 2D planes that you sort of hop between, and it's kind of fun and has like story choices, I guess.
In the world of dumb video game tribalism, the fight has always been whether you're a Gunstar Heroes person or a Guardian Heroes person, and it's always a dumb fight because they're both good games.
They're both great.
The hidden fight deep below the surface that I have no idea about, like the war of the treasure developed. Imagine like being into treasure in such a way that you only like one of the treasure series in like 2018.
Like as niche as treasure kind of is, like to find niches within treasure fans is an odd thing.
Yeah, they exist though.
Oh yeah,
both of them got sequels on GBA that I feel like nobody really talks about.
I feel like people do talk about Gunstar Super Heroes, but I've never heard anyone talk about Advanced
Me and
Guardian
Omar
Heroes.
talk about Gunstar Super Heroes because we both love it, but I feel like we're the only people I know that's ever mentioned that game.
I'll be honest, I love Gunstar Heroes, and I love Guardian Heroes. I've not played the Game Boy Advance sequels of either.
I should play some Guardian Heroes sometime.
You should. It's really fun. But like the only things it's on are like the Sega Saturn and the Xbox 360.
No, I'll make it work.
Yeah, you started a quest like before everything went to shit earlier, just like playing all the GBA games.
Oh yeah. So what I did is I bought a GBA Flash Cart.
Yes.
Knock on wood for legality here, but whatever. And that's a great way to play GBA games because I have an SP with like the 101 screen, and if you don't know what that is, don't worry about it. It doesn't matter. But it's nice to just be able to load up anything. And so I guess I'm technically working on Mega Man Battle Network. Because I was like, what if I play through every GBA game in order? And Battle Network is like one of the earliest games, and so I'm playing Battle Network.
You'll never do that. That will take 7 lives.
Well, guess what? I never need to buy a game again.
That's true. That is correct. I guess now that you don't have any money to buy any video games.
Yeah. Yeah. Let's not talk about the fact I bought Monster Hunter like yesterday. But that's what I was working on. If you don't follow our Patreon or whatever, patreon.com/abnormalmapping, my father died 3 weeks ago, and so that's put everything in disarray. And it was not an unknown, it was not sudden or whatever. We knew it was a potential thing that was going to happen. So the last 6 weeks, since we got the podcast up, basically, have been a lot of stress and like running around and taking care of stuff. So I actually haven't done much aside from that and picking at games. And you know what? I'm actually halfway through next month's Game Club game, so I guess I'm doing okay. Better than Jackson.
Shut up.
But honestly, I've not been spending a lot of time on video games. I played like 5 hours of Monster Hunter World. That game seems really good, but also it's just Monster Hunter again. Please read Austin's review for Waypoint. It's really good.
It's a really good review. I love the whole thing came back. The entire Monster Hunter discourse came back. It's the same as it ever was, just again, but with more people this time because it's on consoles.
Mm-hmm.
Yep.
The colonialist arguments are new specifically due to the framing of this game.
Okay. But like it was stuff that you talked about with the old games because it's still just the subtext of those games. I feel like specifically...
one would argue any game about hunting will always have that sort of subtext in it.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. Not worth getting into here. We're not.
Yeah, definitely not. No. I thought about getting into Monster Hunter, but I don't have the time. I'll maybe get it on the PC.
You should play Monster Hunter. I think you'd like it a lot. It's really fucking cool.
No, I'm sure I would.
Anyway, I think that's it. Let's get into our game club this month, which is Shadow of the Colossus.
Shadow of the Colossus is a 2005 game developed by Team Ico and SIE Japan Studio Japan, that was directed by Fumito Ueda and published by Sony. It is a game in which Wanda goes to the Forbidden Land and begins a ritual to revive a girl named Mono, and this god named Dorman says, "I will do this for you, but you must kill 16 colossi that are laid about this Forbidden Land." There's a bunch of people on horses that are slowly approaching the Forbidden Land, and that's the entire setup. Go kill the colossi. That's it. That's all you get. And it is like a kind of beloved game from the era. Like, wasn't a huge sales success or anything. But it's like a game that got brought over from Japan at the request of like a bunch of critics going, "This game's great, you have to play this." It is a game they made after Ico, which didn't do very well, but was like loved by a bunch of people.
Shadow of the Colossus did way better than Ico, to be fair.
Yes, it did. It did. But that's why they weren't going to bring it over. And on like the strength of its fan base and like the writing about it, it eventually made it over to the West. And it's just a game where you go and fight 16 Colossus, and it is has a strong reputation for being like beautiful, minimalist, kind of sad, and just an all-around good game that people seem to like a lot. I was very interested about finally playing it because I have heard a lot about it and absorbed by osmosis, but I'd never actually touched it, so I didn't really know anything. So yeah, that's it. We all played it. Sam suggested it. We were like, that sounds like a good idea. And that's what we've done. It's called Wanda and the Colossus in Japan.
Yep.
That's the video game.
Yes.
I guess we're done here. Thanks, thebestgame.club. No. So I bought this game when I got my PS2 in 2006. Notably got a PS2 really late. And I tried to play this game a couple times and always bounced off it around the 5th Colossus, which is the bird, because fuck off. I bought the PS3 collection being like, I'm going to finally sit down and play Ico and Shadow of the Colossus. And I played through Ico, and then Shadow of the Colossus, I got to like the lizard in the arena, like the Coliseum, and I was like, nah, I'm done with this game. Until this time where I sat down and played through the entire video game. I'd seen the ending. I'd watched like Heather Alexandra's Let's Play of it, which we'll link. It's really good. I highly recommend it if you're not going to play this game. And so I knew everything in it. I didn't really remember how the Colossuses worked because that's not really important to enjoying the video game when you're watching it. So it was still like mostly learning these for the first time, but going through this game finally clicked. I don't know if it's the combination of like I played a lot of Zelda, and Zelda definitely is built off of the spine of Shadow of the Colossus, or I'd played The Last Guardian and really loved The Last Guardian. And so I was kind of more tuned into what Team Ico's doing when it comes to video games. But this time it worked, and I'm really glad Sam suggested it, because now it went from a game to I didn't really like it and kind of bounced off it to no, this game's really good. So thank you, even if the horse still controls like butt.
I got used to the horse after a point.
Yeah,
I did too.
Like butt.
We have an email when we get to the emails about the horse, and I will talk about how much butt the horse is, which is all the butt.
Yeah.
Sam, how do you feel about Shadow of the Colossus? When did you first play this?
I first played this in 2013. I played the PS2 version, even though because I didn't have a PS3, and it took me a while to get around to it. Actually, I kind of like sort of started playing it and then took a break, and like a few months later, I thought I'm going to try and finish this, and then fell in love with it, and then became one of those people that's like, it's the best thing ever, and then kind of still felt like I held that opinion before going back. And I still kind of feel like I love this game, but like knowing that it's very peculiar in how it works and how it kind of there's a lot of quirks to it, and it was a lot easier to manage them because I sort of like knew what to do, and this being the sort of a second time, the game felt, I don't know, it felt kind of smaller and quicker than I remember it. But, yeah.
Mm-hmm. I think like I know both of me and Em basically marched from Colossus to Colossus and didn't really explore the world very much. Like we explored the world in as much as you have to like you rate. So the mechanics are you are let out from the shrine of something. Um, and the first thing you do is you raise your sword into the air, and the sun reflects off the sword and points you in the direction of the next Colossus. And then you like have to look at the map, look at where it's pointing, and figure out like the best route. There are lots of bits where you get lost looking around this world. Some of the valleys all look the same, and you don't know where you're going. So like that is clearly an intended part of the game, is like navigating the world. But aside from that, we didn't like explore really. Looking for any like hidden secrets or anything, because apart from the little creatures that you shoot to raise your stamina, there really aren't any. You just kind of go kill the Colossus, and I really like that about this game. But yeah, it does feel kind of small. I feel like playing it in 2018, it is worlds apart from the original context. I feel like a lot of the things that this game is praised for have become more common. Like, this sense of scale is not as unique, even though I think it's very impressive, and like it has a very specific sense of scale, and like it's not taking it away from the game. But games doing scale and trying to impress upon you your smallness is a thing that has become more popular. Games also like trying to instill a sense of loneliness in this vast world. Another big thing that like is like that's what a lot of the Dark Souls games do in a very different way, and they're very popular. Like a lot of the things that make this game unique have like kind of spread out from it. So it was interesting going back and like realizing, oh, this game's pretty good. I don't think it's like I didn't feel like it was that special to me personally coming to it, but I thought the actual game was good, even though I fucking hated playing it a lot of the times. And yet, after I killed a Colossus and thought I would be like, I'm never playing that again, I was like, oh, let's do another one. It's fine.
Do you want to talk about why you hated playing it then?
Yeah, so I don't know about anyone else, but this is the arc of Shadow of the Colossus for me. So you set out, you go find the Colossus, and then you start finding the Colossus, and then you have about 5 minutes not knowing what the fuck to do, and you're like, oh, fine, let's get on the Colossus, figure out how to do the Colossus. And then you have to figure out that Colossus's like weak spot. It's basically a puzzle game. For example, there's a big Colossus with a sword, and you need to make the Colossus hit the sword on this metal plate, so that then when it slams the sword into the ground, it is like in such a state of damage that you can run up and climb up the sword, and then you are climbing on the Colossus and stabbing its weak point. But a lot of these Colossus, I was just like, these battles went on forever, and I kept being shaken off, and I had to like do arbitrary cycles over and over again, and it was just like, and every battle I was like, fuck this forever. I am not riding the horse and jumping on the side of the wing again. I'm not doing that again. This is the worst thing I've ever done in a video game. And I'd be so worn down, and then I would kill the Colossus and I would win, and I'd be like, I'm a hero, I'm the best, I'm doing this again. I went through all the emotions. And it's such a different kind of, like, I've played hard games before and had bits where I'm like, fuck this game, I'm not playing it again, and then you come back to it. But the kind of difficulty in Shadow of the Colossus is so, because it's not like difficult in the way like a video game with hard combat is. You're not like, fighting an enemy with attacks and dodging them and parrying with your own. It's just such a different kind of game in that sense, that this emotional arc was very unique to the game, and it's my overriding memory of it. I've been talking for so long. Someone else pick up.
Well, I feel like it's very deliberate in trying to sort of prolong points between attack. Like you'll hold on to the part of the Colossus where you have to hit it, and it will just shake you about so you can't move or do anything for a while.
What's everyone's favorite Colossus in the game? I want to because I know, I have opinions about these Colossus are the ones that made me the most mad, but I feel like talking to Em, they're completely different Colossus. So everyone must have very unique experiences about the kind of fights they appreciate in this game, the kind of encounters they think of. So what are the Colossuses or Colossi that you like, Sam?
I really like the flying ones. The bird. I suppose the thing is like I know exactly what to do when I look, because this isn't it feels kind of unfair. Because I've done this before, and I just sort of load up the game and go, well, you just sort of stand here and jump, and then you grab him, and then you sort of move along and hit him on the wing, I guess. And
I mean, you played it for the first time once. Like,
yeah, that's true.
You must have, with, like, Colossus, you remember being... I remember this battle being a good one. I know it's like it was a few years ago, so you don't like necessarily...
I definitely think the desert flying one was one I liked quite a lot when I had played it at the time, and I still really like it. The one that's always, even now on this second playthrough, I think it's just got me really mad, is the fucking... it's the one with the hot springs. And you've got...
the big turtle with the geysers?
Yeah. It's... the geysers, and it took me ages. Like, even knowing what to do, it's really fussy.
Mm-hmm.
And I couldn't get him to do what I wanted.
I feel like that's the big disconnect in like the part where the Shadow of the Colossus shows its weakest moments in this design is when like the moment of the game that is the thing you're there for is the part where something that was insurmountable suddenly becomes understandable. And you see, oh shit, I have to do this, and you do it, and then you win, and it feels amazing. If you get that moment, and then you have to stand around and wait for a guy to walk out a geyser for like 10 minutes, and then you miss and have to readjust, and it just takes forever for that to all line up, that is less good. Like, you're just doing busy work, even though you've done the like part of the game that is interesting, the solving of the puzzle. And certain Colossus, like, have different kind of balances of like busy work to puzzle solving, I feel like.
Yeah, I also just kind of got mad at the last two because I kept falling off.
I love the second to last Colossus.
It's really good.
It took me forever and I got very mad at it, but I feel like the arc of that battle I had was really good. The second to last Colossus is the one in the arena where you're doing platforming along the edge, and then you have to jump on the Colossus and you stab its weak point. But then when you stab its weak point, the weak point goes away, and there's another weak point that you have to find. And it turns out it's on its arm, and you slice its arm, it drops its sword, you have to climb down to its arm, stab its palm, and then you win. But getting to the palm was just really difficult for me, and so I was making runs at it, and I was making progress, but like I just couldn't get there, and it was frustrating me, and then besting it felt really good, as opposed to the one in the sky, in the desert, where I had to make a lot of runs at it because I couldn't get the horse to line up properly, and by the time I had climbed up, all the timers were running out, and it just went under the sand. That felt so much more arbitrary because it wasn't like me balancing my timers. It was just, oh hey, I'm going under the sand now, you have to begin the cycle again. Whereas the second to last Colossus felt like I was like fighting against something I had control over that just was very difficult. And I just like the feeling of that much more.
So I guess this is a good time for me to say that flying sand Colossus is my favorite Colossus in the game.
It is very impressive. I understand why.
The scale of it is maybe the most impressive. Like, even the last Colossus, which is the giant towering like Night on Bald Mountain Devil Man, is not nearly as cool as this giant worm in the sky where you have no idea how to begin to approach it when it first arrives. And the act of like shooting its like air balloons so it descends enough for you to jump onto the wing and then climbing up the wing, like everything about it is dynamic and vast in this way that makes you feel like an incredible adventure hero. And I know that you fell off a bunch of times, but as someone who like just went and did the Colossus with no hitches in it because I never missed the wing when I jumped on it, like that Colossus in particular makes you feel incredible in a way I don't think any of the other ones do, because you are like, by that time you're so deep into the game that I feel like most of the Colossus fights, once you figure out how to do them, are really trivial. Like, Wander goes from, oh, how do I begin to approach this? Oh, this bird knocked me off and I have to swim across this lake to get onto a platform again, to, oh, another Colossus, I'm going to jump on it, stab it, and be done in 10 minutes. Like, that is the arc of, like, getting better at the game as you fight these Colossi. And every once in a while you'll get caught up in, how do I make its weak points appear? Once you figure it out, usually I feel like the Colossus topples really fast. Like, my end time of this game was about, like, 7 hours, maybe. I just like really tore through it, and by that time, Wander is just a Colossus killing monster. Like, all of my favorite Colossi are the ones at the end, which are very impressive looking, and then once you figure them out, like fold incredibly easily. Like, my other two favorites are the big one in the lake that you direct by smacking the rocks on its head to like steer it to platforms. Then you like hide behind the platform and it jumps up, and then you like get on its belly when it climbs up on the platform. I like that one, just like the indirect control of a Colossus. More so than other ones. Like, it feels like a thing that, like, look at that and they go, what if you controlled a big giant thing you wrote on the entire game and then made that game as their sequel? And then the tiny one in the giant, like, ruined city with all the pillars that's entirely encased in armor. I really love that one. The entirety of that fight is you climbing over a pillar, like, across, like, ruined archways and stuff to get on top of pillars that will ram when you shoot with an arrow. Shoot him with an arrow, so it knocks over the pillar and gives you more platforms to crawl across until you can drop rocks on it and break the armor to get at it. And just the fight spanning the entire ruined city, where you're clambering over things as the Colossus like runs like an angry dog beneath you, like trying to get at you and failing, is really good. Like, it feels to me like I talked a bit when we talked about Breath of the Wild during a Game of Year thing about how much that game feels like the art of a Zelda game. And to me, that fight in particular feels like there's a particular piece of art for Link to the Past that's like Link hiding behind a pillar as Ganon approaches. And that's how that fight makes me feel. Like, you are just this tiny character scrambling behind whatever you can get on top of or behind to not get destroyed by this thing that's constantly chasing after you, in a way that a lot of the Colossus aren't really about, because so many of the Colossus are so huge that they're kind of either they're passive or their attacks are so slow that you can just kind of like crawl out of the way when they're coming at you. Like, this is not a game where there's that many threats past, oh, this one shoots lightning and that lightning does way too much damage and you're going to die from it. The actual Colossus is getting hit by them is like, really, you have to like go out of your way or not be paying attention to not like to get hit by a Colossus's actual physical swing, I feel like. Which makes sense given that when like the Colossus are all like the appearance of power and majesty, and in actuality they are like sad lumbering things that are very easy to avoid, which the ending of the game like plays out and lets you feel that experience yourself. And so like for me, it was always the ones that are a little faster, a little more engaged with like the mechanics of climbing on it more than like dodging some attacks.
One of my favorite Colossus in the game was the one in the Colosseum.
The lizard
in the Colosseum, because I like that one because of how quick it was. It was one of the few Colossi that I felt was actually difficult. Like, I was in the one before it. God, what was the one before it? There was a fucking nightmare. I think that might have been the bird. No, yes, it would have been the bird in the water. The bird in the water that has the like, you shoot with an arrow and then it comes down. You have to jump on correctly, and then it like flows you off at some point. And then to get back on it, you have to go through the whole thing of finding a place to shoot the arrow, waiting for it to begin the cycle, trying to line up the jump, and you can never line up the jump because the jump sucks. Because it always sucks. Because lining up a jump takes about 7 attempts in any. Like, I don't know how you were able to make that horse jump. Like, yes, if I had been able to make the horse jump, that Colossus would have been great. But you can't. No one can. I don't believe you that you did it that well. That's ridiculous. Like, that is just what that game was to me. And so then you have this other Colossus in the Colosseum where finally there is something that will actually kill you. There is an actual like fight going on. It's such a different experience. And the danger isn't like, oh, I have to reset this over and over again. It's like, oh, fuck, I did it wrong, I died. Okay, I did it wrong, I died. It feels much more like a traditional fight. And then the moment where you realize, oh, I shoot its things, it falls down, I stab it, and then it is done. It is done so quickly after it has killed you about 7 times. It was a very different dynamic in the experience, which was usually more slow and like repeating cycles and ideas. Just having something that you figure out and either it kills you or you kill it in about 5 minutes was a very interesting idea. They're like the amount of ground they cover in just 16 Colossi. It's pretty good because you start that game and then you have like 3 big Colossi that you climb up, and you go, wait, how did they keep this game going for 16 Colossi? That seems like it'll get really boring. And then suddenly they get interesting, and the places they take that kind of enemy encounter design are very cool.
To be fair, the third Colossus is maybe like the biggest like planting your flag on what this game is going to be possible, where it's the one where you climb up the like long winding like road up to like a plate that's above a lake, like perched precariously, and then it is a giant man-sized Colossus, because everything before that has been really bestial, and this one just swings this big fuck off sword at you, and the path of you like getting it to hit the sword onto the big metal disc and shatter its armor, and then you have to crawl up the sword once he swings it and it embeds in the ground and get on his arm. Like, the scale and the scope of what it's asking you to do in that moment are so much bigger than climb up the big turtle guy.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, I understand. Like, I feel like that's the one that they've shown the most in like trailers for the remake. Like, it is the big obvious Colossus, the one with the sword. Like, it's very cool.
It's the one, like, it's the one that became like the subject of a lot of fan art and stuff when the game like came out. Like, it's the one that everyone is like, this is the showy one that's early enough that fans are gonna glom onto as the one you tell people about.
You climb up the sword.
Yeah, it's really good.
You climb up the sword.
Yep.
I feel like I've seen the desert flying one in footage a lot for the remake as well.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they've just straight up released, here's the entire fight, and I just sat and watched it.
That's cool. So did you play this time on PS3, or did you play it on PS2 again?
I played it on PS3 this time. There's not a significant difference in how it plays, except for like the PS3 version kind of has a more stable frame rate.
So does the PS2 version have like the weird texture pop-in stuff that this game does? Because I feel like this game has a lot of messy like seams to it in its like conversion to HD.
I honestly don't remember any texture popping from the PS2, but like, because that wasn't a lasting memory of it. But it was really weird to sort of see that quite a bit on the PS3 version. But yeah, no, there would be certain points in the PS2 version where it feels like the game was kind of almost grinding to a halt. It wasn't unplayable, but it was just very sluggish.
Mm-hmm.
And that was, I don't know.
I mean, so like there are moments in the PS3 version that I was like, man, this frame rate, I can't even imagine how crazy it was in the PS2, as like the gargantuan things that are happening to you like impact the world you're in. Like, I don't actually think the frame rate suddenly slowing down when everything is popping off is a bad idea. Like, that seems aesthetically in line with what this game is and with everything about it, because it's definitely strange in the HD version of how like the texture popping is very, very pronounced. It is very like, oh, these things are very clear and I can tell when they are popping in, as opposed to the like aesthetic I associate with the PS2 era, which is specifically that like texture down filtering where everything still has a little bit of the PS1 like sparkle. I don't know how to describe it, but you know what I mean when you look at like a PS2 game. Like, it just has that kind of like jagged edges everywhere look.
Yeah.
That every bit of the footage I've seen from the original version of this has that, and it's a cool aesthetic. And obviously, it's all gone on the PS3 version. It's all much more stable. So you say you hate the PS4 remake looking thing, because I've only seen a bit of it. I haven't touched it myself, and I want to get a feel for like, because I know people are all over the place on it.
I kind of do want to get my hands on it now, considering like surprised by how quickly I got through this version. So, but it just kind of, I think that it just doesn't like it, because the original has a very specific feel to it. Like, I generally feel that Team Ico's games do tend to have this sort of strange, like, kind of ragdolly movement to everything, and especially to human characters, and it just feels like a weird disconnect, seeing like a realistic looking Wanda, and that sort of moving like it would on the PS2, and it's mostly because like I'm so attached to the original that something that's going to be as significantly different but posing as the same thing is like just going to seem weird, because they're not like saying that this is like, they've been kind of very confusing on like the messaging for what this new game is, whether it's like a enhanced port or remake. As I understand, it is using like original code.
I thought for like when it was originally announced, I thought it was literally we took the concept of this game and redeveloped it. I thought it was like going to be zero mission levels of like we added things. It's a whole new game, but it seems like it's just the original game on a new engine with new assets. But they like took the actual game.
I'm watching like gameplay footage right now, and the weird part about this is it kind of looks like what you would expect like a CG trailer for Shadow of the Colossus to look like, but all the time.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think that's bad. I'm kind of interested in getting this, like if it goes on sale ever, and playing it. But it is like a categorically different thing. Even Last Guardian, which is like a PS4 game, doesn't look like this because that game was in development so long and kind of runs like garbage the way you'd expect these Team Eco games to run.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this game like has a very smooth. If you have a PS4 Pro, it has a smooth 60 FPS version, which that's so weird. This game would look so wrong in 60. But if it's such a new thing, I don't know. I know a lot of the complaints about it are to do with like the aridness of Shadow of the Colossus, because even in its like open grass plains and not in like the sand things, the land feels very dead. The lighting is very washed out.
It becomes hard. It's one of those questions that you kind of have to ask yourself when you talk about like what game remakes and like remastering does. Is the awful grass textures of Shadow of the Colossus like author intent, or is it this is all we could make happen in our janky ass open world game for the PS2?
Well, so you said I don't know, because I looked at Wikipedia and couldn't see this, so I assume it's like from the book you read. But you
oh yes, I read Nick Suttner's book on Shadow of the Colossus that was released by Boss Fight Books.
You were coming to me with some like information on the making of, which I don't know how true it is for me, but if you could let us know. They were like originally going to be like more colossi, actual enemies, towns.
So the original idea was that there was going to be upwards of 30 colossi, and they were like, we're never going to get these many, but we're going to try. And then they started like condensing colossi and trying to make sure everyone was distinct, and they would combine ideas for various colossi together to try to make sure that each fight is memorable and like full of nuance. But then also like the open world, like these ruins were supposed to be like towns and places to visit that weren't just here's some rocks that look like someone must have lived here 10,000 years ago. Mm-hmm. And all of that immediately got stripped out as they realized they did not have the budget or time to make that kind of game, especially on a PS2. But because of that stuff being left in there, like the bones of it, I think that's what gives Shadow of the Colossus its like very unique sense of the world. Like you feel a space that you can sense that there was a plan for something bigger and grander in that world. And the difference between history used to have people here and they've all been washed away by time, and a game developer was supposed to put a town here and then ran out of money and just left the ruins of a city, are not actually that different when you like deal with like the artistic representation of a thing.
No, like organically it gets to that point, like almost more like you could try to start from, we need to design a place that feels like people used to live here, or you just go through that process and end up at that place organically.
Yes. Like if you compare this game to Breath of the Wild, which is like an obvious touchstone for a lot of reasons, but that game has like a sense of ruins where like, oh, the world was like devastated 100 years ago and people have rebuilt some stuff, but a lot of places are just kind of ruins and falling apart. The ruins part of Breath of the Wild, like on the Hyrule Plain, feels so much more deliberately hand placed than like the inscrutable like Neolithic ruins of Shadow of the Colossus, where you come across places you're like, this looks like it could have been an aqueduct or a town or a bridge, but I can't tell what, because all it actually is like some rough geometric shapes jutting out of this rock that clearly were put by people because they're too sharp, but I don't know what they are because they're so like worn away and featureless. And like that's such a distinct thing unique to the design of this game in particular.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's cool. I don't know. I don't know where I stand on the remake. I feel like
I want to play it. That's where I stand on it.
I want to play it. Like I know there have been discussion about the controls being like it feels better. I don't know what that means. But then again, I saw Patrick Klepek play it, and Patrick fell about 4 times at that one jump. You know, the one when you have to get from the spiral staircase, from the spiral slope to the platform. And,
on the third Colossus. Yes, the first time it asks you to do like a really tricky jump.
And I had just watched a video that was like, and they've changed the jumping physics that demonstrated that by someone just running up and making that jump on a diagonal axis, which is the original game doesn't like allow you to jump at a diagonal. You have to kind of jump forward, and then the game order corrects. That's the thing that feels wrong about that jump. And so that like in that video they showed, they fixed jumping physics. What did this jump happen first time? And I was like, that's the right choice to make if you're making a video game. But also me falling down into that pit is so like I understand how if you see that game and see that's been fixed, you're like, no, that's not Shadow of the Colossus. And then watching someone just fall again 6 times, like, okay, this seems mostly intact.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't know. I really want to touch it. I know they've changed like the controls, but the original ones are also in there. I don't like. There are lots of people who are like, no, they've completely missed it. The aesthetic is all wrong, and I see how you get there, but I don't know. I want to touch it. I want to play it myself at some point, like in a couple years, probably.
The problem becomes with games like this, especially like for Sony. This is less of a problem for Microsoft or PC games, where the remake, by its very nature of being a PS4 game when the other one was a PS3 or PS2 game, it, like ends up not in the minds of people who played them, but realistically is a thing you can acquire, replacing the thing that pre-existed, because you can't play the original Shadow of the Colossus on your PS4. Like, all you have is this new one, so this has to be represented in the game. Whereas, like, I don't mind a remake where if they had Shadow of the Colossus HD or just the PS2 version of Shadow of the Colossus to purchase on PSN, I feel like people would probably be a little more chill about this. Like, here's the shiny version if you want it, but then also here's the one you like, that's all jank ass for all you people who like need the thing you remember. And I think this is just a problem with game preservation that needs to be solved, right?
No, because people are just as mad about how bad Halo 1 Anniversary looks, and you can press a button and go back to the original aesthetic in that game.
Sure, but I don't like. I feel like the volume of this is much higher than the Halo Anniversary was to me.
Oh, yeah. I mean, this is the beloved game by like a lot of critics in a way that never like breached mass appeal. So like the feeling of like needing to protect and preserve the experience of this game for people to actually understand what it is. I understand why that's so much stronger than we made the walls on Halo look wrong.
Yes.
Sam, you were going to say something.
I was just gonna like sort of because there is like one. There's not really a lot of examples of like HD remakes that kind of like retain the original. Like,
in what sense?
In like that, like here's the remake where we've changed a whole bunch of stuff, but if you press a thing, you could go and play the original instead. Like Odin Sphere does that on the PS3 and PS4, but that's kind of one of the few examples I could think of.
There's like the Halo, there's I guess Odin Sphere, there's Grim Fandango and not Monster Hunter. Fuck, Monkey Island.
There's also Wonder Boy and Monster World. That's what you were thinking of, probably. Your brain was trying to regurgitate that.
I was trying to say Monkey Island. I was not thinking of
okay.
Monster World. I was just.
Well, Wonder Boy totally does the thing where you can just switch between the art styles.
I think those are really interesting. I really want to play Wonder Boy.
What?
Yes, and even if you don't allow that, like, they should sell the old Shadow of the Colossus on PS4. Like, this is the thing Sony in particular is just generally really bad at, right? Like, they just have no regard for re-releasing their back catalog stuff.
I mean, yeah, no, the lack of preservation on Sony's side is, like, fucking criminal. It's ridiculous. There are entire games that are just going to be lost in the next few years when they turn off PSN for PS3.
Yeah.
Because at the moment, you still have the PS3, and you have a lot of PS2 games on PSN that are mostly, it's mostly fine. If you want to get a hold of something...
Also, like, if you really want to get there, PS2 emulation is not impossible at this point.
Yeah, but there's PS3 games that are just going to disappear. Tokyo Jungle.
Yeah. There's already a derivative of Tokyo Jungle that doesn't exist anymore because PlayStation Mobile went away.
Right? Fuck, there is. Yes. No.
Yeah.
Like, I know MGS4 is the big example that everyone cites. But there's a lot more than that. It's weird. It's a real shame. Because emulation seems to be, like, it just depends on the platform, right? Like, a lot of,
PS3
consoles...
emulation's probably still a long ways off, right? Like, reliably good stuff that you can do as a person.
Oh, yeah, no, because the cell.
Yeah.
Yes.
What a ridiculous thing.
So I suppose we should talk about the actual plot of Shadow of the Colossus, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Jackson, tell us what happens in Shadow of the Colossus.
Okay. So I don't know if you could have seen this coming, but you were the bad guy. Turns out Dormin was like actually using you because the 16 Colossi are actually like the places in which his soul has been stored away, and then through killing the Colossi, you have set him free again, and he inhabits your body, and like you take on this like ghostly Colossus form.
Oh, Harry Potter!
Oh God. I'm done. Oh, Jesus Christ. Anyway, you take on the Colossus form as the like village like village elder. I don't know what's his name. Something.
Yeah, he's just the village elder or whatever.
Like shows up to be like, oh no, fuck, we were too late to stop you. And he like runs away, throws the sword in a pit. You get a brief moment of controlling the Colossus where you think you'll like have to slam and like hit them, like kill these people who are here to stop you, but actually you're too slow and they run away.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, wait, why can't I? They're so far away. Can I not hit them? It turns out that was totally on purpose, and you're basically useless as a Colossus, which I thought was very funny.
I got stuck for a minute at that
He also
point.
chucks the sword into the pool.
Yes, he chucks a sword into the pool,
Yeah.
and it like basically makes a kind of wormhole. As there is like one more sequence of you controlling you back as Wander again, trying to avoid being sucked into the wormhole, and you are unable to avoid it. Apparently, there's like a trophy for being able to last a minute, because like it puts you in control and like facing towards a Mono who's still sitting lying on the shrine, and you're like running towards her, but the force is pulling you backwards, and it's very clear like affecting and what it's trying to communicate. You are not strong enough to escape this pull, but what you can do is turn around, run, and jump straight into the wormhole.
That's what I did.
Which I immediately did that. I think that's hilarious.
So I tried to hold on for the minute, which I failed to do, but I got close. And what that is you like using the entirety of your grip meter as you like hold on to the steps like they're a Colossus as you're being pulled by your feet.
Oh, that's pretty good.
Yes.
Like, that's a really good way of like communicating the emotion of the scene. I love that you could just subvert it entirely. Like it's the big part. It's the Assassin's Creed 1 cutscenes taken to their nth degree, right? That's the thing I always think of is this guy delivering you super serious monologues and me running in a circle.
No, I think of that as the Half-Life thing, but yeah, I get it.
Yeah, no, Half-Life is probably the correct one. I haven't played Half-Life.
Mm-hmm.
At some point we should do that, but not today. Not today.
And then what happens?
And then, so the village people run away. The village people, fuck. Anyway, they get back to the village. The bridge leading into the Forbidden Land collapses, and no one can escape. As Mono wakes up and walks over. Oh, and sorry, your horse dies, and then comes back. Yes. We haven't even mentioned the horse. We haven't even mentioned aggro. I thought the aggro stuff, like I thought it was cool, but hearing about like it being there's a moment before the final Colossus where a bridge collapses and aggro like throws you to the other side and falls down into the abyss, presumably dead. And like that was apparently a very affecting thing, whereas literally all I can think of through that entire scene is Vinny and Ryan doing an impression of Peter Molyneux going, "Me dog," which is probably rude of me, but it's such a 2005 thing. It's like, oh, you have an animal and then the animal dies. Like that's the joke everyone makes about these games. Like it was the big joke about Last Guardian. I don't actually know how that game ends up going, but it was definitely in the discourse around it. So I was not shocked when that happened. What I was shocked when it happened was when at the end, aggro then walks in limping, and you have to see a like limping horse with a broken leg. Oh, it's the saddest thing. It's the grand tragedy of like this doomed quest and this forbidden land and like it's like sadness there. Nothing. Stone face. Limping horse? God, I can't handle it. So the horse limps in, and then they go to where the like wormhole was, and left there is like a baby with horns, which I think is an Ico reference. I think this is like
yeah, because the implication is that maybe the baby, the kid in Shadow Colossus is this baby. There's the reborn Wander or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
Or the kid in Eco, sorry. You know what I mean. Because the main character in Eco is a horned child.
Okay. Okay, I assumed it was more like general than that, and like this was thousands of years before Eco. I didn't realize.
Well, yeah. No, like time is like a nebulous concept here, right?
Mm-hmm. So they walk up this like staircase that is how like in the shrine that goes up forever, and they like emerge in a hidden garden as like the rain starts pouring and life basically returns to the Forbidden Land, and that's the ending. I feel like, did I miss anything?
No,
that's basically it.
Do you know about the hidden garden thing, Jackson?
I mean,
we did not talk about this before.
Would you? What did I know it was in? I knew nothing. I didn't know a thing. Like I
Okay,
knew
so
from the discourse that
if you manage to collect all of the lizard tails that extend your grip meter
okay.
in the game, right before the final Colossus, you have enough grip that you can climb up the Shrine of Worship all the way up to that garden.
Oh, you can
Barely
go there?
making it. Yes, it
Oh,
is
that's
just
cool.
a place in the game. And then if you go there and you eat the fruit there, when you eat the fruit there, it actually decreases your stats to the point you can't get back up there again.
Wow.
Because it's considered to be like the fruit of like life and knowledge that like prevents you from ever achieving Eden or whatever.
Yeah, no, I get it. Yep.
Yep.
Yep. Good job.
Yep.
I see what you did there. Me doing
Yes.
the meme of the guy nodding his head.
I'll link a YouTube video of someone doing it. It's like I would never even attempt it. It's a very long climb because by then you have a ton of grip and you need all of it.
Mm-hmm. That's cool. That's pretty cool. But no, you go to the hidden garden and then the rain happens. The way the game actually works is really weird because like the rain happens and then like life returns to the Forbidden Land, but then it suddenly gets dark again as this bird flies away and lightning strikes, and then like the game ends and then it cuts to the opening cutscene where it is dark and lightning has come and Wander is riding into the Forbidden Land, implying that it is doing the thing that I thought it would do of this just being a cycle that goes on forever. So I don't actually know. I assume it's all just thematic and nothing matters. That was my take on it. It's a cool game. So Sam, as someone who loves this game, what are your feelings on the ending? Because I thought it was like fine, but like it was nothing I didn't expect. It didn't like hit me that hard. But I know that people like really like the ending of this game.
It's yeah, I think it's sorry. Yeah, no. It's something that definitely like back when I first played it, definitely felt kind of like extremely profound at the time, but like I don't know, I don't feel like I responded as like strongly to it this time around, and I don't know whether that's because of like being a voracious consumer of video games and just having seen like so much of what like is done with that sort of thing, kind of just beat that out. But I don't know. It's still kind of cool.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool. I just I felt very disconnected from it. I didn't like emotionally get into it that much.
As someone who's known the ending of this game, like literally since right after it came out, because I've never cared about that sort of thing. For me, the story is whatever. I don't actually care, but I deeply love playing it now that I've gotten my head around it. But also, like, the context is really important here. Like, this game came out in 2005.
Yes.
I would like to remind you other big games of 2005.
Okay.
Psychonauts, Fear, Resident Evil 4, Peter Jackson's King Kong, Prince of Persia, The Two Thrones,
Yes.
Devil May Cry 3, Lego
to be the
Star
one that
Wars,
feels like
the
so
video
much.
game.
God.
You were playing Lego Star Wars as a child, Jackson.
I was waking up before school to play Lego Star Wars.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's what I was doing this year. God, fuck.
Which, like, when I look at this game and I go, oh yeah, like this is cool. Like I see what it's doing. Nice. I like it's really hard to remember the context. 2005 was a very different time for video games.
Yep. I mean, when I talk about like the way my reaction to it has changed, like because so many of these things have become like the things this game does are not unique anymore. But like yeah, like with the things that were out at the time, it is crazy.
But also, I think it's really interesting, like when you think about, oh, games have changed a lot, our reactions to this being kind of like, yeah, this was cool, I enjoyed it, but like I see a lot of games like this versus our reactions to Katamari last year, where we played that game and we even knew what that game was, but we're like, man, Katamari's great. No one makes games like this. Because they don't.
I mean, like on some level, this is just a bigger discussion about like Japanese games, right?
Well, no, but it's also like what spaces art games decide to fill the void of. Like you can find isolated, feel bad about your actions, like the world is barren art games. They're like a dime a dozen, but like a game that tries for like the joy and wonder of Katamari. And both of these are like games that were like small Japanese games that got huge press. That's why I'm comparing the two of them.
No, they
covered them
very
within a year.
similar, and they're like the same time-ish.
Yes, in the story of how they came over, they are very similar. It is really interesting to me how different the response has been as like a enduring legacy. Not necessarily games themselves, like they're fine, and they like both creators went on to make kind of the exact same games in different wrappers past this, but there's a lot of games that feel like they came out of Shadow of the Colossus, and there's very few games that feel like they came out of Katamari. I think that speaks to like the weight in which serious and sad things get like weighted when you consider art, and that might be a bit of a fallacy. Like, people fondly remember this game because it made them feel something, and maybe they hadn't felt that way about a video game before, because 2005 was really fucking weird. But for me, like, playing it now, it's like, oh yeah, no, I get to ride a horse and jump on that fucking flying dragon and climb up it and stab it, and that's cool. Because I can't think of very many games that let you do that even still.
Yeah, so like one of my reactions to the game, like actually playing it, was the climbing mechanics are fantastic. I love the way the grip meter works. I love the like dual button setup of you press button to like not necessarily to jump, but to let go of the contact you have with whatever surface you are on, be that the ground or the wall, and then you press another button to like reinforce your contact with that surface. And so you have this very rhythmic sense of climbing. And I was kind of sad that most of the climbing was just in the context of this Colossus and not just in a world where I could just climb up things forever. Like, I would love that game. I know like Zelda has a lot of echoes of it, but
The Last Guardian, Jackson.
does it have the meter thing? Does it have specifically the 2-button?
So the last Guardian is maybe a little closer to like Tomb Raider, but it still has a lot of the deliberate animation stuff that this game has.
Okay, because the thing like I actually love was like the rhythm of the triangle button to R1, like that as a approach.
I don't remember if it has that as like the buttons or whatever, but there is a lot of like, not only are you interacting with like very concrete environments you jump on, but also there is like a mini Colossus following you around that you can always like jump onto from wherever you're at.
And you can pet them.
Yeah. You can
and you can pet them and clean their feathers when they're full of blood.
Oh, I need to play that game. It's going to run at like 15 frames a second. I can't wait.
Yeah, no, it's great. I love it a lot. I think that's kind of it, unless Sam, you have final thoughts.
Yeah, what are your takes on like the feelings of 2000 and mid 2000s like hashtag art games? Sorry to spring.
As someone who played this game in 2013, you said, or 15 or whatever you said.
Yeah, as someone who also played that game and Devil May Cry 3 around the same time. And actually did play Resident Evil 4 when it was fairly new. Yeah, no, I have tried, like, I've played a few games that kind of tried to capture what Katamari Damacy sort of has, and I feel like they don't quite get it. Like, there was one, and they just, like, there was one was called The Wonderful End of the World, where you just play a guy running.
Yes, that's by Dejabon Games, who did yeah, their Katamari alike is not a good game.
No.
Oh, is it not? I've heard of that game.
No, it's not.
It just feels like a really sort of cheap budget version.
Oh wow, this sure is a Katamari game, huh?
Yes.
Yeah, and I sort of feel that like Lovely Planet tries to go for it a bit aesthetically, but it's a completely different style of game where it's like a crazy move as fast as you can first person shooter kind of deal.
Yep.
Yeah.
And like in the other direction, you get a game like Everything, which is like the idea of the collection of items that Katamari is, but with like a veneer of like art pretension over the top.
Well, that's the thing with that game, is that it is basically genius because it covers both beats, right? Like you have the ridiculous like feeling of playing in a world where you're moving and collecting objects and just like having things happen in the way that like Katamari encourages this exploration of the space you're in. And then you also have voiceovers which someone can write reviews about, being like, this made me think about the world, man. Like being both of those games in one is a very, very good decision if you want to sell a video game.
That's the thing. Mm-hmm. The thing with Shadow of the Colossus is that it's like you see a lot of what that game is in other games, but I don't think any other game really captures what Shadow of the Colossus kind of is. Like, even like The Last Guardian is a very different kind of game, even though it does share a lot in similarities. But
I feel like The Last Guardian is much closer to Eco than it is Shadow of the Colossus.
Yeah, but it's weird because like this the big scale kind of climb on bosses thing. I've seen that in other games, and sometimes really doesn't look. There's like a boss in Castlevania Lords of Shadow which feels like it's trying to rip it off wholesale. Like, even has like is it just like you fight an Ice Titan and it's the same shit but bad? And
I can't wait for M to play that.
And it just has like you stab it and it spurts out like white instead of black. And yeah, but it's not good. That game isn't good.
Yeah, no, it's interesting because I also think that like the actual game itself hasn't been replicated. Like, it's a very unique game in what you do, just tonally and the trappings around it, and also like the emotional core of what its like ending and message are things that are very in line with other things that become popular. Like, you get a lot of games where you're the bad person. That is, you are usually the bad person more than you are the good person. In video games that are like praised as meaningful, especially in the way that this one was. I feel like before now, because I don't think this is as big a discussion anymore, but like, and again, like, this proves that games can be more than just shooting the aliens. And this game came out in an era where that was like the discourse around games being art, right? Like, that was still the thing. And thank God we've gotten mostly away from it. Not completely. It's still there, but it's dying.
Yeah. I mean, there's a particular way in just like how like Shadow of the Colossus kind of moves and like the camera is, and I don't think people want, like, not so many people want to make a game that feels like that, especially at the sort of afraid to take a risk kind of big budget area. But and like, because The Last Guardian, you definitely saw a lot of people kind of react badly to how it moved, the camera was, and I think I was just kind of generally used to that because I still play a lot of PS2 things. My PS2 is still constantly hooked up. But
yeah, I mean, a side effect of doing this podcast is I feel like I am much more able to get into like the nuances on quirks of older games that are kind of been sanded off. Just playing games from all eras is, I recommend it for everyone. It's a good thing. Yeah, I don't have much more to say about Shadow of the Colossus. I assume we got a couple of emails, though. I feel like
we do
much...
have 3 questions, yes.
Okay. What are the questions?
All right, from Perry by email, which Colossus do you think has the best design? Not mechanics, just character design and art direction.
I don't know.
It's a tough one.
Like, probably the one with the teeth on the head that you got to kick around.
Okay, I would say the second of the big, like, Minotaur Colossus, the one with the big beard.
That's also very
like,
good.
Crashes through the walls. I just like that big beard. Yes.
Yeah, that's a good beard.
Like, you hide away and he just, like, perks in.
You jump on that beard. Yeah, no, that is very good. All the Colossus have great faces, and they're just kind of going, "Oh, hello. I'm a Colossus."
Even like ones that, like, the weird sandworm that, like, only has the eyes peeking out is like, those eyes, because they're so, like, round and eerie, it just gives it, like, this weird, curious sense to itself.
I don't know. It kind of reminded me of, like, a Muppet. Like
yes.
Yeah, no, I get that. Next question is from Crass. How does the horse stack up to other video game horses like the ones found in Breath of the Wild, Metal Gear Solid 5, and Pocket Card Jockey?
The horses in Pocket Card Jockey don't do what you want anyway. Like Wanda controls perfectly compared to the Pocket Card Jockey horses. Oh, what a mess of a game. I do like it a lot, but what a mess of a game.
I wonder, Aggro is not nearly as cute as the pocket card jockey horses.
No horses could possibly be.
Tell me about D-Horse, Jackson.
Oh, so when I talk about horses in video games, I played Red Dead Redemption, and so that is my baseline for horses. Much more than D-Horse, because I didn't really use him much. He's okay. D-Horse is fine. D-Horse controls perfectly. You can always know exactly what to do with D-Horse. D-Horse feels much more like a tool than a horse, which is very out of step with the characteristics people ascribe to the way Metal Gear introduces characters. You can make him poop, but you can also exactly control how you're going to maneuver around people and sneak using D-Horse, which is cool. But yeah, I don't know. I don't have much affection for D-Horse. The horse I always think of as the Red Dead Redemption horses, which has a very specific, very similar to Shadow of the Colossus actually, tapping down the A button to make it gallop and then holding it down to make it run.
Does the Red Dead Redemption one follow the road?
You can make it follow the road. I think it might only be in when you're No, I think if you hold down A, it follows the road. I can't remember if it's just in conversations or if it's actually all the time. But yes, no, I love the Red Dead. I think about going back to Red Dead Redemption semi-regularly entirely because of the horses. That game's probably bad about the horses.
So I think of when I think of Aggro, I think of Breath of the Wild, but I also think of Roach from Witcher 3, which are both Roach is very much this is just a car, but it does follow the road.
The thing with Roach is you can hold the button to follow the road, but sometimes will go the wrong part of the roads. And then it becomes Roach is a super fussy horse to control sometimes.
Yes, but not in a way that feels like an animal you're controlling, just in a way that feels like sometimes the pathing strays and then you're screwed.
But
video games.
Roach, there'll be a knee high, maybe even not even that high thing on the ground, and Roach just goes, "No, I won't go for that."
Whereas I had Aggro jump down some cliff faces that definitely a horse should not have ever gone down.
Look, this horse has been established to survive large falls.
Yes, no, that's true.
The horse,
if it managed to fall down a cliff with only a broken leg, it can do anything.
I definitely from experience in Red Dead Redemption, the horses do not react well to big falls.
No, they do not.
Whereas the Breath of the Wild horses are very similar to Aggro in that they follow the roads when they're there, but they're also kind of fussy, but in a very horse way, where if you direct it a way it shouldn't go, it's going to not only refuse to go, but it's going to try to veer off in a direction you were not prepared for, and you need to have a firm hand to turn it back to where you need to go, and then you need to pat it to make it happy. What Aggro needs is a pet button, because that's what Zelda gives, is a pet button to make your horse like you more.
Why the fuck have I played Breath of the Wild? Goddamn. Petting the horses is mandatory.
I hardly ever used horses in Breath of the Wild.
Oh, I love them, especially when you're just roaming around trying to find shrines. Horses necessary.
Do we have one more question?
We have one from Twitter, which is again about Breath of the Wild, more or less. Breath of the Wild, divine beasts with their colossi, better or worse gameplay wise. If you want to see more colossi, what would you design them on? Does Kingdom Hearts Oogie Boogie Fight count as a Colossus? What about that bee lady in Mario Galaxy? This is from Jasmine on Twitter. So let's break this down. Are the Divine Beast Colossi? No, they're not. They're just dungeons. Don't worry about it. Don't think too hard about it. Just because they look like animals, they're just dungeons.
They're really good, though.
If you had to design another Colossi, what would you make?
A big furry guy with armor? I don't know.
I would have loved a Colossus that was wander-sized. Actually just a person. I always like a thing where you're fighting a thing that's the same size as you in a game that's not about that. Because you couldn't climb on him, unless they made a weird animation where you just were actually trying to grapple each other, which would be ridiculous in that game.
A piggyback.
Yeah. Jackson, Oogie Boogie, does that count?
What?
Oogie Boogie in Kingdom Hearts. Does that count as a Colossus?
Oh, God, I've forgotten everything about Kingdom Hearts.
Well, you're lucky that I, not too long ago, played that.
Jackson also not too long ago played Kingdom Hearts, just apparently forgot it all.
It was in 2015. I don't
Yeah.
remember Oogie Boogie. It's not
Okay.
the big
big house.
Yeah, he turns into the big house.
Oh yeah, that's Colossus.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's well, it's a lot more traditional video gamey in that there are like random projectiles and other monsters around.
Yeah, I think of that more as like a Sonic Adventure boss than I do a Colossus.
You know what's a Colossus? That one from Bayonetta where you're on the back of it.
Yeah, no, that's for sure. That counts.
Yep.
And then finally, what about that bee lady in Mario Galaxy? That's a Colossus? Yes, no?
Yes, Mario Galaxy is full of Colossus.
I mean, you literally climb through her fur on her like big bulbous butt. It's the most Colossus.
That's a Colossus.
There's definitely a lot of Mario Galaxy bosses which involve climbing the boss.
Yep. Not enough though. Never enough.
That's true.
Climb the boss.
That's
I think that's all of our questions. Yes. Next month we are playing Fire Emblem Awakening, which is a 3DS game from
2013.
Okay, thank you. Yep. So get a 3DS. If you don't have a 3DS, get a 2DS. If you don't have that, I guess look it on YouTube. Otherwise, I don't know, pound sand or something. But we will do that in February, and then we will figure out where we're at past that. I think that's all we've got going on for video games right now. I'm not doing Let's Plays because I'm dealing with little stuff at home, obviously. Sam, where can people find you on Twitter?
You can find me on Twitter at Samuel Howitt. It's Samuel as you'd normally spell it, and it's HOWITT.
Okay, and your podcast is at?
I suppose I don't have a proper place I should fix that. I usually tweet about it when it's out there.
Okay. Outside of that, Jackson, the Plug Zone.
The Plug Zone. I am at Headfuls Off on Twitter. You can find our podcast at abnormalmapping.com. We have SOS, Second Officer Slug, a Star Trek podcast at StarTrekPodcast.space. We read Star Trek books, we watch Discovery. It is a great show. It is a good time. Come on down. There's a lot of Star Trek going on. Oh, God. The Amory Score is with Molly and I. We are going through Cohen Cambria's epic journey through the Amory Wars. It's oh, God. It's a disaster, but it's a good disaster. Come on in, enjoy. Allow us to tell you the story of Ryder at the moment. Yeah. We also have Novel Not New, which is a podcast about visual novels that you, Jen, and Colin do. We have Fireside Friends at firesidefriends.net, which is Ryan, Alan, and Katie's podcast. And that's it for me. What do we also have?
We are a Patreon-supported podcast network. You can go to patreon.com/abnormalmapping and sign up. If you want to be on, like Sam was today, and get us to play whatever game you want.
Any game.
You can do that. You'll find the reward tier there. For $1 a week, you will, or a month, weekly, you will get The Great Gundam Project, which is me and Jackson watching Gundam and talking about it. The reason I am tired today is because we just got done with the last episodes of Mobile Suit Gundam and did a 70-minute podcast right before this podcast. So look forward to that. That'll come out the same day as this if you want to sign up. Next week from the date this releases, the first Zeta episode will come out, and that'll be free for everyone, and then it'll go back behind the paywall because the first episodes of Gundam shows are free. And you can check that out if you like it. Again, patreon.com/abnormalmapping. Abnormal Mapping itself can be found at thebestgame.club. As I said, we're doing Fire Emblem Awakening. You can find me on Twitter at em_being. And I think that's everything. So that's all I've got, friends. Thank you, Sam, for being on and for helping us out.
No problem.
And I look forward to doing a great many more of these with people in the future. So until next time, go play a video game.
No.
What?
Okay. Well, you don't have to. You have to play Fire Emblem. Past that, I guess you don't have to do anything.
I played Fire Emblem around the time I played Shadow of the Colossus for the first time.
You were very, very busy that year.
Yeah, I was a student.
Oh, okay. That's fair. I played a lot of games as a student also, so. That's it. Everyone go home.
Bye.
Bye.